Ashley, what's our final main topic today?
Last up is from Dillan T. Hey, John. So the Russo brothers have basically admitted that there is stuff in the Endgame trailers that are absolutely misdirects. I know we all sort of suspected that anyway, especially after the misdirects in Infinity War trailers. So let me ask you, what stuff in the existing trailers do you think have the highest potential of being misdirects? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
Yeah, so here's an interesting thought, Robert. So the Russo brothers in some interviews recently, and in an interview like over a year ago, they admitted, yeah, it's part of Marvel's strategy right now to do some misdirects in these trailers. Sure. They've kind of said they're doing the same thing with Endgame. Here, let me throw out a wild theory. Here's a wild theory. Okay. The Russo brothers suggesting there are misdirects in these trailers is the misdirect. Because just by getting out there and planting, oh yeah, there's some misdirection in the trailers, just by saying that, it is forcing all of us to have a degree of doubt with everything we have seen in these trailers. So I propose a scenario in which that it's possible, however unlikely, that perhaps the Russo brothers suggesting there are misdirects in the trailers are in and of themselves the ultimate misdirect, because everything in the trailers is in the movie, but we don't think that because they've thrown us off the scent. I don't know. But Rob, honestly, hearing what the Russos are saying, now looking at the trailers, what's the most likely material do you think may be a misdirect in the trailers that we're assuming are real? Like, what do you think that stuff could be right now?
Man, I there isn't enough in the trailers to really be a misdirection. I mean, it looks like we've talked about most of what we see is probably from the first half an hour of the movie.
Right.
We really haven't seen anything. I don't see anything that I think is, in fact, a misdirect. I mean, the quantum suits, Tony Stark is with them as they do their right stuff parade through the airport or whatever, through Avengers headquarters. And we know that Tony Stark's there, so he would have been the one to make those suits, probably, if they're quantum realm suits. And there's just really not that much in the trailer. It's not like we've got the team charging at the camera with the Hulk running like we saw that like the jism shot that we got at the end of the Infinity War trailer, where you're like, ah! and there isn't anything like that doesn't show up in the movie. There's nothing like that. It's relatively low key, and I think you're right. I think the Russos are having more fun. It's like that photograph they released teasing the like, look, the onset ladder.
Oh, I know. That was such a troll job. That was such a troll job.
They've been trolling everybody. I mean, I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious, and I think you're absolutely right. I share your optimistic approach. I think you're absolutely correct. I think that comment is in itself what he was trying to talk about. Yes.
So I'll go on what I think a lot of people are on, is that if there is an actual misdirect in the trailer, and the misdirect isn't itself the misdirect, the most likely one I would guess probably is that shot that you were referring to, right, of them walking through. Because it's quite possible that maybe Scott Lang probably created the quantum realm suits. He's been studying quantum realm ever since he got caught in the quantum realm in Ant-Man 1. So if there's anything, there's that. But here's something that we need to keep in mind, Rob.
Now that you put this in my mind, I think you're right.
That's the thing. That's the misdirect.
Yeah. Or is this all a misdirect?
Or is this all a misdirect, right?
Are you two misdirecting the misdirects now?
Well, we all know that Rob has a direct phone line to Bob Iger, who could be instructing us to confuse everybody. But I want everybody to remember one thing, though, when talking about what could be the misdirect, what may not be, and that's this. Even when you go back to the misdirects that happened in the Infinity War trailer, and there were a couple, but even when you go back to those, none of those were all that misdirecting. Think about it. In that big iconic jism shot with all those people in Wakanda,
I kind of felt bad for saying
it, rushing towards the screen with the Hulk there, was that a misdirect? Yes. Was it that big of a misdirect? Because it only showed characters who were in Wakanda. There was a big battle going on at the scene, and Bruce was there. He wasn't Hulk, but he was there. In the grand scheme of things, that shot was a bit of a misdirect, but it really wasn't all that misdirecting. Like, it's not like they showed that shot and running alongside of them was Quicksilver. And running alongside of them was Ego, the living planet. And going, wait a minute, Ego's in this? Like, it was nothing that's... And then the other shot that was like the misdirect was that shot I love so much with Captain America, Thanos coming down with his hand and Captain America catching and stopping his hand. They CGI'd out a couple of the Infinity Stones to show, because obviously in the movie at that point, he had almost every single one, and in the shot, it looked like he was still missing a couple. Again, not that big of a drastic misdirect. That shot is in the movie, that is happening, but they just changed a detail in it to be a little bit. Keeping that in mind, I saw some theories, guys, where people are suggesting like entire chunks of these trailers aren't in the movie and there's something radically different. It's like, well, it's possible, but that's not consistent with how they handled misdirections in the other Infinity War. I would suggest, because some people even suggested this entire scene with them walking through thing isn't in the movie. I've seen people suggest this entire scene is. I would suggest, so when you look at how they handled the misdirects in Infinity War, that no, this scene's there. There's just probably one or two details, and perhaps these two, Nebula and Tony, maybe those two are the details that are misdirects. Because one thing I want to point out, look at Tony's hair. That looks like hair of a guy who is stranded in space and is dying and whatever.
Yeah.
Every time Tony's in a scene in the Avengers, other than when he's in the middle of a battle, he's a very well-kept man. He's very well groomed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look at that and it's like, that doesn't look like how his hair would look as he's, just come out of the shower and walk it off into a battle sequence or whatever. So I'm not saying that they're not there. I'm not saying 100% that that's the misdirect. All I'm suggesting here, guys, is that if there is one, that might be it. That might be it. Do you guys have any other theories about things in the trailers we've seen that could be a little bit of misdirect?
No, you convinced me, man.
Okay.
How fun would it be to do those little misdirects, though, too? Like, hey, let's mess up his hair right here, and then everyone will go crazy over it. It'd be so fun.
Because they know how much we obsess. Oh, I want to throw in one other thing. Because they know how much we as fans are obsessing over every frame and every detail about these things. In one of the first spots that came out, you had, I believe it was Bruce, looking at all the images of the people who were dusted, right? And you had Ant-Man, because he had disappeared right at the time of the snap, so they thought he was snapped. They had Spider-Man. And in the back was Shuri. What if Shuri was never missing in the first place? Shuri was there. She's still in Wakanda. She's still doing her thing. And they threw in that one quick little detail that only massively obsessed nerd boys like us would find, because we are going to pour over every detail. Maybe the Shuri thing is a misdirect, and Shuri is perfectly alive and well in Wakanda, and everybody knows it. I don't know. So that's the only other one I can think of. All right.
Shuri, it can't be a misdirect.
Shuri, right. It can't be. Very well done.
Surely.
Well
it is
done.
a misdirect, and don't call me Shuri.
I was going to say from Airplane, and don't call me Shirley. All right.